The Galactic Dominion had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. Their pattern was always the same. Identify a developing world, watch from afar, and then attack with massive force when the civilization reached the right level of development that made them both a future threat and worth taking over. Earth had been watched for nearly 200 years. From their hidden stations in the far edges of the solar system, Commander Vextar and her crew recorded humanity's fast progress with cold interest. By their calculations, Earth would be ready for invasion in less than 5 years. The alien crew had seen this pattern before. A young species discovers electricity, then computers, then basic space travel. They fight among themselves, create weapons, and burn through resources. By the time they notice the danger from beyond their world, it is too late. The Dominion ships would appear in the sky, and within days another world would fall. "Status report," Commander Vextar demanded, her tall, thin frame moving across the monitoring deck of the station. "Humans continue their primitive space exploration," Officer Krell replied. "They have small colonies on their moon and Mars. Their technology advances at expected rates. Any sign they have detected our presence?" "None, Commander. Our cloaking systems remain effective against their scanning technology." Vextar nodded with satisfaction. The humans were following the same path as all the others. Soon, they would join the list of conquered worlds. On Earth, most people went about their daily lives with no idea of the danger watching them from the darkness of space. They worried about jobs, relationships, and local problems. The few who looked to the stars with suspicion or hope were usually dismissed as dreamers or fools. Dr. Alan Miller was one of those dreamers. At 38, he had spent his career at NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station in Nevada, searching for signs of life beyond Earth. Most of his colleagues thought he was wasting his time and government resources, but Alan had always felt that humans weren't alone in the universe. "Another normal day finding nothing," joked Paul Green, a fellow scientist who stopped by Alan's workstation. "Still hoping to talk to little green men?" Alan smiled but didn't look up from his screen. "Someone has to keep looking. The universe is too big for us to be alone." Paul shook his head and walked away. Alan returned to reviewing data from the new long-range scanner array he had helped design. The system was built to detect the small changes in gravity and light that might show artificial structures at the edge of our solar system. As he scrolled through the day's readings, something caught his eye, a small pattern that didn't fit with the natural background of space. He adjusted the settings, refined the search area, and ran the scan again. The anomaly remained. "That's strange," he muttered to himself. He checked the historical data and found the same pattern going back years, faint but consistent. Something was out there creating a tiny distortion in space that his new algorithm had finally detected. "Hey Sam, come look at this," Alan called to his colleague, Samantha Turner. The 35-year-old communications specialist walked over, brushing her blonde hair back as she leaned in to look at his screen. "What am I looking at?" she asked, squinting at the complex display of data. "See this pattern here?" Alan pointed to a small cluster of unusual readings. "It shows up in the same spot every time we scan that sector. It's not a natural formation." Sam's expression changed as she realized what he was suggesting. "You think it's artificial? As in, someone built it?" "I think something massive is out there and it's not on any of our charts. And according to the historical data I just checked, it's been there for years." Alan looked up at her, his eyes serious. "Something's watching us, Sam. And whatever it is, it's trying very hard not to be seen." Sam straightened up, her mind racing. "We need to verify this. Run the scans again using different parameters." For the next 12 hours, Alan and Sam worked without breaks, running test after test. Each result confirmed their suspicion. Something large and definitely not natural was positioned at the edge of the solar system. "We need to tell Director Roberts," Sam said finally, rubbing her tired eyes. Alan nodded in agreement. "This changes everything." Director John Roberts was not a man who appreciated being woken up at 3 a.m., but when Alan explained what they had found, he was at the facility within an hour. "Show me everything," he demanded as he entered the control room, still adjusting his Ty, Allen, and Sam presented their findings, explaining in simple terms how the new scanner had detected what appeared to be an artificial structure trying to hide its presence. Could it be a mistake, a glitch in the system? Roberts asked, though his serious expression showed he already believed them. We've run every possible test, Sam explained. The anomaly is real. It's about the size of a small space station, and it's positioned perfectly to observe Earth without being noticed. Roberts was silent for a long moment. Who else knows about this? Just the three of us, Allen answered. Keep it that way for now. Roberts pulled out his phone. I need to make some calls. This goes all the way to the top. Within days, observatories in Chile, South Africa, and Japan had confirmed the findings. Government officials from major nations were quietly brought into a secure communication channel. For the first time in human history, there was solid proof that Earth was being watched by something not from this world. In the White House Situation Room, President William Carter received the briefing with remarkable calm. So we have visitors, he said, looking at the images and data spread across the table. And they don't seem interested in saying hello. No, Mr. President, General Laura Hayes replied. Their technology is clearly far beyond ours, yet they're hiding. That suggests they have reasons to remain undetected. Not good reasons, I imagine, the President said quietly. We recommend establishing a first contact protocol immediately, Dr. Miller suggested, still amazed that he was now sitting in the White House. If they've been watching us for years, we should let them know we're aware of their presence. And if they're not friendly? Asked the Secretary of Defense. A heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone present understood the implications. If beings with technology advanced enough to cross the stars and remain hidden for years had hostile intentions, humanity might be facing its greatest threat ever. We need to know more before we make a move, the President decided. Assemble a team of our best scientists, linguists, and military strategists. I want options on my desk in 48 hours. As the meeting ended, Allen and Sam exchanged worried glances. Neither of them had expected their discovery to potentially change the course of human history. Neither of them knew that on the hidden alien station, their detection had already triggered an emergency protocol. Commander, Officer Krell called out in alarm. The humans have directed scanning beams directly at our position. They've found us. Commander Vextar's expression darkened. Notify the fleet, the timeline has changed. Earth was no longer just being watched, now it was being targeted. General Laura Hayes stood before the team of scientists, military personnel, and government officials in the Pentagon's secure meeting room. At 52, with her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, she commanded respect with just a look. Never in her long military career had she expected to lead humanity's response to an alien threat. Dr. Miller's discovery has been checked and confirmed by observatories around the world, she explained, pointing to the large screen showing the data. We are not alone, and whoever is out there has been watching us for some time. Allen sat next to Sam, still not quite believing they were now part of this top-secret group. Just a week ago, they had been ordinary scientists doing their jobs. Now they were helping plan humanity's first contact with aliens. Dr. Eric Chen, A.E., quantum physicist from MIT, raised his hand. Have we tried to communicate with them? That's why you're all here, Laura replied. We need to contact them before they realize we've spotted them. If they've been hiding, they might have reasons we won't like. The President had given them clear orders. Establish contact peacefully if possible, but prepare for the worst. Around, the world military forces were quietly put on high alert. Space agencies redirected satellites to monitor the area where the alien station was hiding. What do we even say to them? Asked Sam. How do we talk to beings from another world? Dr. Olivia Martinez, a linguist who specialized in communication theory, spoke up. We start with math. It's universal. 2 + 2 = 4 everywhere in the universe. We build from there, simple patterns, basic physics principles, maybe images that show our solar system and Earth. The team worked day and night for 2 weeks. They created a message with mathematical sequences, simple diagrams of humans and the solar system, and basic greetings in multiple formats. The message was designed to show that humans were intelligent, peaceful, and aware of the Watchers. We're ready to transmit, Alan announced one morning. The team gathered at the control center in Nevada, where the powerful radio telescope array was pointed directly at the alien station. General Hayes nodded. Send it. With the press of a button, humanity's first intentional message to an alien, civilization began its short journey to the edge of the solar system. On the Dominion monitoring station, Junior Communications Officer Zarks was the first to detect the incoming signal. The young alien froze in shock, his four eyes widening as he analyzed the data. "Commander Vextar," he called out, his voice higher than normal. "The humans are sending us a direct message." Vextar rushed to his station, her long limbs moving quickly across the deck. "Impossible. Let me see." The signal was clear and unmistakable, not random noise or a stray transmission, but a carefully crafted message aimed directly at their location. In all the Dominion's long history of conquest, no pre-invasion species had ever discovered their presence and attempted communication before the attack began. "What does it say?" Vextar demanded. Zarks worked quickly to decode the message. "It begins with mathematical sequences, binary code, diagrams of their solar system, and what appears to be images of the humans themselves." He paused, confused. "They know we're here and they're greeting us." Vextar's mandibles clicked in agitation. This was not part of the standard conquest protocol. The humans were supposed to remain unaware until the invasion fleet arrived. "Notify Fleet Command immediately," she ordered. "Tell them the humans have discovered our presence. Request new instructions." But as Zarks continued to analyze the human message, he found something strange. Unlike any communication they had encountered before, this message contained concepts that had no direct translation. In the Dominion language, the humans were not just saying, "We see you." They were inviting conversation. They were suggesting something the Dominion rarely considered: peaceful contact between different species. "Commander," Zark said slowly, "I think you should see this part of their message." On Earth, the team waited anxiously for a response. Hours passed with no sign that their message had even been received. "Maybe they're ignoring us," suggested one of the military officers. "Or maybe they're deciding whether to talk or attack," said Sam, voicing what many were thinking. Alan shook his head. "They've been watching us for years without attacking. There must be a reason." Just as they were about to take a break, the communication system lit up with an incoming signal from the exact location of the alien station. "They're responding!" Sam shouted, rushing to her station. The room erupted in excited chatter as technicians worked to receive and decode the message. President Carter was immediately notified, and screens around the world lit up in secure government facilities as humanity prepared to receive its first alien communication. "What are they saying?" General Hayes asked, leaning over Sam's shoulder. Sam's fingers flew across her keyboard, struggling to process the complex data. "It's strange. There are mathematical responses to our equations, confirming they understood that part. But there's something else." She paused, eyes widening. "I think they're warning us." The alien transmission contained technical details far beyond human understanding, but one element was clear: a countdown. According to their translation, something important would happen in less than 72 hours. "Is it a threat?" the general asked. "I don't think so," Sam replied, still analyzing the data. "It feels more like they're trying to tell us something urgent." Dr. Chen stepped forward, pointing at a section of the message. "Look at this part. These appear to be technical specifications, instructions for modifying our scanning equipment." "Why? Would they want us to change our scanners?" Alan wondered. "Maybe they want us to see something we can't detect yet," Olivia suggested. President Carter was briefed immediately. The 58-year-old leader had maintained a calm public face despite the growing tension behind closed doors. "So they know. We know they're there, and now they're telling us something big is coming in 3 days," he clarified during the emergency meeting. "Yes, Mr. President," confirmed General Hayes. "But Dr. Chen believes there's more to the message." "I think these are instructions," Eric explained, pointing to the complex diagrams. "They want us to modify our detection systems to see something specific." After hours of debate, The president gave authorization to follow the alien instructions. Teams at observatories around the world worked frantically to make the suggested changes to their equipment. 24 hours later, Alan was the first to see the results. As the modified scanners swept the outer solar system, new images appeared on his screen. "Oh my God," he whispered. Sam rushed over. "What is it?" Alan could barely find the words. "Ships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands." He zoomed out the image to show the full scale. "There's an entire fleet out there, Sam, and they're massive." The alien monitoring station they had detected was tiny compared to the armada now visible on their screens. Earth wasn't just being observed. It was being targeted by an invasion force larger than anyone could have imagined. But the message from the monitoring station wasn't a threat. It was a warning. On the Dominion station, Officer Zarks waited anxiously. He had risked everything to send that message to Earth, directly violating Commander Vextar's orders. For the first time in his career, he had questioned the Dominion's ways. The human greeting had affected him deeply. Instead of fear or aggression, they had reached out with curiosity and openness. Their mathematical message had contained an idea that had no word in his language. The concept of different species meeting as equals, rather than as conquerors and conquered. And now he had made a decision that would change everything. The president's emergency meeting room was completely silent as the images of the alien fleet filled the large screen. For several seconds, no one spoke. The scale of the threat facing Earth had just become clear to everyone present. "How many ships?" President Carter finally asked, his voice steady despite the situation. "We count over 500 large vessels," General Hayes answered. "Each one appears to be several times the size of our largest aircraft carriers." Alan Miller looked at the data again, double-checking his calculations. Based on their positions and the energy readings we're detecting, they could reach Earth in less than a week if they started moving at full speed. The Secretary of Defense leaned forward. "Mr. President, we need to mobilize every military asset we have. We need to prepare the public for what's coming." "And cause worldwide panic," argued the Secretary of State. "We have no idea if we can even fight these beings." President Carter raised his hand for silence. "The warning message came from the smaller station we first detected, correct?" "Yes, sir," confirmed Sam. "It seems someone on that station wanted to alert us to the larger fleet. So there might be disagreement among them. Maybe not all of them want to attack Earth." The president thought for a moment. "We need to respond to whoever sent the warning. They might be our only hope of understanding what we're facing." Dr. Olivia Martinez nodded in agreement. The original message contained concepts that suggested a desire for peaceful communication. If we can establish dialogue with whoever sent it, we might find an ally. "Or it could be a trick to make us lower our defenses," cautioned General Hayes. "Either way, we have less than 2 days before whatever is supposed to happen according to their countdown," said Alan. "We need to decide now." The president didn't hesitate. "Prepare a response. Thank them for the warning and ask for more information. Express our desire for peaceful contact. Meanwhile, quietly prepare our defenses, but no public announcements yet. I won't cause a global panic unless we're certain there's no other option." Tautu, the Dominion monitoring station, Officer Zarks was in serious trouble. Commander Vextar had discovered his unauthorized transmission to Earth and had him confined to quarters under guard. "You have committed treason against the Dominion," she told him, her voice cold with anger. "When the invasion begins, you will be dealt with accordingly." But alone in his quarters, Zarks continued his work in secret. Before being discovered, he had hidden a small communication device in his personal belongings. Now he used it to monitor the human broadcasts and prepare for what he needed to do next. The human response arrived just hours after his confinement began. They had understood his warning and modified their scanners exactly as he had instructed. Now they could see the truth. The massive invasion fleet waiting to attack their world. Their message was simple. "Thank you for your warning. We wish to talk more. We seek peaceful contact." Zarks felt a strange emotion. In all his years serving the Dominion, He had participated in the conquest of 2 other worlds. Never had he questioned the rightness of their actions. The Dominion conquered. That was the natural order of things. Strong species dominated weaker ones. But the humans were different. Their first message had contained a concept that had troubled him deeply, the idea that different species could meet as equals, that communication and mutual respect were possible without conquest or submission. It was a concept that had no word in the Dominion language. Their civilization had evolved as conquerors, and their entire culture was built around the idea of domination. But the human message had awakened something in Zarks, a question he had never considered before. What? If there was another way? He made his decision. Using his hidden device, he sent another transmission to Earth, this one containing critical information: the invasion fleet's tactical weaknesses, their attack patterns, and most importantly, his plan to escape the monitoring station and seek asylum on Earth. On Earth, the response from their mysterious alien contact caused excitement and confusion. "They're trying to defect," Sam said in amazement, reading the latest transmission. "Whoever is sending these messages wants to come to Earth. It could be a trap," warned General Hayes. Dr. Martinez studied the message carefully. "I don't think so. Look at this part here. It's not just tactical data. There's a personal message embedded in the code. The aliens' words, translated through complex algorithms, were simple but powerful. Your greeting revealed something my species has lost. Your concept of peace between equals does not exist in our language. I wish to understand. Can we trust this?" asked the president, looking around the table at his advisors. "We may not have a choice," replied Alan. "According to this message, the invasion countdown is still active. If this alien is telling the truth, they're risking everything to help us." After hours of debate, the decision was made. Earth would welcome the defector and learn everything they could about the coming threat. A plan was quickly developed to guide the alien's shuttle to a secure facility and prepare for humanity's first face-to-face meeting with an extraterrestrial being. Meanwhile, on the Dominion station, Zarks prepared for his escape. He had served on the station long enough to know the security protocols and shift changes. There would be a brief window during the next cycle when he could override the lock on his quarters, reach the shuttle bay, and launch before anyone could stop him. As he waited for the right moment, he thought about what he was about to do. No member of the Dominion had ever betrayed their species this way. He would be marked for death, hunted across the stars if necessary, but he couldn't participate in the destruction of the humans, not after what their message had shown him. The time came. Zarks disabled the lock, slipped past the reduced night shift crew, and reached the shuttle bay without being detected. As he prepared the small craft for launch, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the station. "Security alert. Prisoner escape. In progress, all personnel to battle stations." Zarks worked faster, his 4 hands flying across the shuttle's controls. The bay doors began to close as Commander Vextar's voice came over the communication system. "Zarks, stop this madness immediately. You betray everything the Dominion stands for." He activated the shuttle's engines and shot forward, barely clearing the closing doors. The station's defense systems locked onto his small craft, but Zarks had disabled those systems before his escape. As he accelerated away from the station toward Earth, he sent one final message. "I do not betray the Dominion. I hope to save it from itself." On Earth, the early warning systems detected the small alien craft entering the atmosphere. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept, but they had been instructed not to attack unless the shuttle showed hostile intent. The craft followed the exact flight path that had been transmitted to it, landing precisely where directed: a remote military base in the Arizona desert. Specially trained teams in protective suits surrounded the shuttle as its door slowly opened. The being that emerged was nothing like the terrifying monsters humans had imagined. Standing just over 5 feet tall, with 4 arms, 4 large eyes, and skin that seemed to shimmer with a bluish tint, Zarks looked almost fragile. He carried no visible weapons and made a gesture that the humans would later learn was a sign of peaceful intent in his culture. Using a simple translation device he had brought with him, Zarks spoke his first words on Earth. "My name is Zarks. I have 40 hours to help you prepare before the Dominion fleet begins your extinction. The countdown had begun. Zark sat at a long table in the Arizona base, surrounded by humans who watched him with a mix of fear, curiosity, and hope. The room was specially prepared for this historic meeting, the first official contact between humans and an alien being. President. Carter had arrived by helicopter just hours after Zark's landed. He now sat across from the alien, with General Hayes, Alan, Sam, and Dr. Martinez beside him. Armed guards stood at every door, though Zark's had shown no signs of hostility. "We thank you for your warning," the president began, speaking slowly, as Dr. Martinez translated his words through the device Zark's had brought. "But we need to understand what we're facing. Why does your people want to attack Earth?" Zark's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture that conveyed sadness in his species. "The Dominion conquers. It is what we have always done for thousands of years. We find developing worlds, observe them until they reach a certain level of technology, then take them over. Your resources, your planet, all would become property of the Dominion. But why?" asked Sam. "What did we do to threaten you?" "Nothing," Zark's replied. "You exist, you develop. Eventually you might become a rival. The Dominion does not allow rivals to emerge." Alan leaned forward. "You said our message contained a concept your people don't have. What did you mean?" "Your greeting suggested meeting as equals, sharing knowledge, peaceful coexistence between different species." Zark's translator struggled to convey the complexity of his thoughts. "These ideas do not exist in Dominion culture. We conquer or we are conquered. There is no third option in our history or language. Yet you're here talking to us," observed the president. "You chose a third option." "Yes," Zark's admitted. "Your message changed something in me, made me question beliefs I never thought to question before." General Hayes got straight to the point. "How much time do we have, and what can we do to defend ourselves?" "The fleet will begin its approach in 36 hours. Once they start moving, you have perhaps 5 days before they reach Earth." Zark's activated a small device that projected a 3D map of the solar system, with the fleet's positions clearly marked. "Your weapons cannot stop them. But there might be another way." He explained his plan. The Dominion fleet was commanded by Admiral Krizak, a respected but traditional leader. Before any invasion, the Dominion always sent a final warning to their target, a show of power and a chance for the weaker species to surrender without a fight. "If we can reach the Admiral before the invasion begins, show him that humans are different, there is a small chance he might listen," Zark said. "Why would he listen?" asked the president. "Because the Dominion has conquered 17 worlds, but we are not expanding as we once did. Resources are stretched thin. Some commanders quietly question whether endless conquest is sustainable." Sam looked skeptical. "And you think we can convince him that peace is better than war?" "Not easily," Zark's admitted. "But your message affected me. It might affect others. And I know something most Dominion officers do not. Our empire is starting to crumble under its own weight. We need allies more than we need slaves." For the next 12 hours, the team worked with Zark's to craft a message that might convince Admiral Kurzak to at least delay the invasion. They included Earth's greatest achievements in art, music, science, and philosophy, but most importantly, they included examples of cooperation between different nations and cultures, showing how diversity and peaceful cooperation had made humanity stronger. "Will this work?" Alan asked Zark's privately, during a short break. "I do not know," the alien replied honestly. "But in all our conquest, we have never encountered a species that reached out the way humans did. Your greeting was unique in our history." As they finished preparing the message, another alarm sounded. Earth's new detection systems showed movement at the edge of the solar system. "The fleet is moving early," Zark said, his voice filled with concern. "Something has changed their plans." On the Dominion command ship, Admiral Krizak received a report from Commander Vextar about Zark's betrayal. "The traitor has reached Earth and is likely sharing our tactical information," she explained. "We should advance our timeline." The admiral, a battle-scarred veteran of 12 conquest campaigns, considered this new development. "Prepare the fleet for immediate advance," he ordered, "but I want the traitor captured alive. I wish to understand what motivated this unprecedented betrayal." Back on Earth, panic began to spread as the first amateur astronomers spotted strange objects moving through the solar system. Governments worldwide struggled to decide whether to inform their citizens of the approaching threat. Some countries revealed the truth, while others claimed the objects were just unusual asteroids to prevent mass panic. President Carter addressed the American people in a carefully worded speech. He confirmed that Earth had made contact with an extraterrestrial civilization and that discussions were ongoing. He did not mention the invasion fleet or the imminent danger, hoping to buy time for Zarx's plan to work. "We need to transmit our message now," Zarx urged as they watched the fleet's steady approach on the monitoring screens. "Once they commit fully to the invasion, nothing will stop them." The message was sent using Earth's most powerful communication, arrays, boosted by technology Zarx had brought with him. Now all they could do was wait and hope that someone in the Dominion fleet would listen. Hours passed with no response. The alien ships continued their advance, moving past the orbit of Neptune. Earth's military forces were placed on highest alert, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless against the advanced alien technology. "They're ignoring us," General Hayes said grimly, watching the fleet's progress. "Wait." Zarx suddenly straightened in his seat, listening to something on his communication device. Something is happening. The Dominion fleet had stopped moving. For several tense minutes, the massive ships hung motionless in space. Then a transmission came through on the frequency Zarx had provided. The face that appeared on the screen was similar to Zarx's but older, with scars across the right side, and a darker coloration that indicated high rank in their species. "I am Admiral Krizak of the Dominion fleet," the alien said, his words translated by Zarx's device. "I have received your message and the claims of the traitor Zarx. I did not expect to find myself curious about a conquest target." President Carter stepped forward. "Admiral, we hope for peaceful contact between our peoples. We have much to offer each other through cooperation rather than conflict." Krizak was silent for a moment. "The concept you call peaceful coexistence between equals is foreign to us. The Dominion has known only conquest for millennia." He paused again. "Yet your message contains ideas that merit further consideration. Will you halt your advance while we discuss these ideas?" the President asked. "I will hold position for 3 of your Earth days," Krizak replied. "I wish to speak further with the traitor Zarx and learn what it was about your species that caused a loyal Dominion officer to betray his oath." After the transmission ended, the room erupted in relieved conversation. They had gained precious time. 3 days, said General Hayes. "Is that enough?" "It has to be," replied the President. "Zarx, what made Admiral Krizak agree to wait? I expected an immediate attack." Zarx looked thoughtful. "The Dominion has never been questioned from within before. My actions confused him. And your message?" He seemed to be searching for the right words. "Your message showed something the Dominion has never seen in all its conquests. A species that might be more valuable as allies than as subjects. Can we convince him?" asked Sam. "I do not know," Zarx replied honestly. "But for the first time in Dominion history, a fleet admiral has delayed an invasion to consider an alternative. That alone is unprecedented." Alan looked at the screens showing the motionless alien fleet. 3 days to change the mind of a species that has only known conquest for thousands of years. No pressure. The countdown to humanity's fate had begun again. The Dominion command ship was unlike anything humans had ever built. Its vast halls were designed for beings with forearms and bodies adapted to a slightly higher gravity than Earth's. Admiral Krizak stood on the main bridge, looking at reports from the 17 worlds already under Dominion control. Resource shipments were down. Resistance movements were growing on 3 of the conquered planets. The costs of maintaining their empire were rising. The meeting with the human leaders will begin soon, Admiral. said his second-in-command. Krizak nodded. He had agreed to meet with a small group of humans and the traitor Zarks on neutral ground, a space station that humans had placed in orbit around their moon. It was an unusual decision that had shocked his officers. In all their previous conquests, the Dominion had never negotiated with target worlds. "Prepare my shuttle," Krizak ordered, "and summon Commander Vextar. She will accompany me." As his shuttle left the massive ship, Krizak thought about the message from Earth that had caused him to pause the invasion. Something about it had stirred questions he had never considered in his long military career. Was there truly another way besides conquest? On the lunar space station, President Carter waited with a small delegation. General Hayes stood beside him, along with Alan, Sam, Dr. Martinez, and Zarks. The station had been cleared of all other personnel for security reasons. "They're docking now," announced the station's AI system. Everyone tensed as the airlock opened. Admiral Krizak entered first, his tall frame nearly touching the ceiling. Behind him came Commander Vextar and 2 armed guards. The humans had agreed that the Dominion representatives could bring weapons as a show of trust. "Welcome to human territory," President Carter said, stepping forward. "We appreciate your willingness to talk." Krizak studied the humans carefully before speaking. "I have ruled the conquest fleet for 30 years. I have never delayed an invasion before. Your message and Zarks' actions have raised questions I find uncomfortable." Zarks stepped forward and bowed to his former leader, a sign of respect in their culture. "Admiral, what I learned from the humans challenges everything we believed about conquest." "You betrayed your oath to the Dominion," Vextar snapped. "You should be executed as a traitor." "Perhaps," Zarks replied calmly. "But first, hear what these humans have to offer." For the next several hours, the humans presented their case for peaceful cooperation. They showed examples of how different nations on Earth had once fought, but now worked together. They demonstrated how sharing knowledge had advanced their science and technology faster than competition alone. They offered access to unique Earth resources through trade rather than conquest. "Your civilization is young," Krizak noted. "You still fight among yourselves over territory and resources." "We do," admitted the president. "We're far from perfect, but we're learning that cooperation works better than constant conflict. Our greatest achievements have come when we work together," Alan added, "and we're willing to share our unique art, music, and ideas with the Dominion, things you won't get if you simply conquer us." Commander Vextar scoffed. "Art and music have no value to the Dominion. We need resources and territory." "But at what cost?" asked Sam boldly. "Zarks told us that controlling 17 worlds is already stretching your resources thin. How many more can you conquer before your empire collapses under its own weight?" Krizak and Vextar exchanged looks. This was a topic rarely discussed openly among Dominion leadership, but it was becoming a serious concern. "There is another way," Dr. Martinez suggested. "Alliance instead of conquest, trade instead of theft. We develop faster when we share knowledge across different perspectives. Your technology combined with our creativity could benefit both our peoples." Krizak was silent for a long time. Finally, he turned to Zarks. "You risked everything to help these humans. Why?" "Because their first message showed me something I had never considered," Zarks explained. "That different species might exist together without one dominating the other. That we might be stronger together than we are conquering each other. This concept does not exist in our history," Krizak noted. "No," agreed Zarks, "but it could be our future." The Admiral turned away, looking out the station's window at Earth hanging in the blackness of space. "Our empire is beginning to crack," he admitted quietly. "The cost of controlling unwilling subjects grows with each conquest. Perhaps there is wisdom in considering a new approach." Commander Vextar looked shocked. "Admiral, you cannot seriously consider abandoning the invasion. The High Council would never approve." "The High Council is not here," Krizak replied firmly. "And they did not see what these humans sent us. They did not hear what we have heard today." He turned back to face the humans. "I will not promise peace, but I will return to the fleet and call for a full council meeting. This decision affects the future of the Dominion itself. That's all we ask, said President Carter. A chance to show there's a better way forward for both our peoples. 3 days later, the Dominion fleet received an unprecedented order from Admiral Krizak. The invasion of Earth was officially postponed. A small delegation would remain to continue discussions with the humans, while the main fleet returned to Dominion space. In the High Council chamber of the Dominion homeworld, Krizak faced the angry questions of his fellow leaders. "You abandoned a conquest because of words?" demanded the eldest council member. "Because of soft ideas about cooperation? I postponed a conquest because I believe we face a turning point in our history," Krizak replied. "For thousands of years, we have only known one path: domination. But that path is leading us toward collapse." He activated a display showing the human message that had started everything. "These humans have something we have lost: the ability to see beyond conquest." Their greeting to us contained a concept that has no name in our language, yet I believe it may be crucial to our future. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some members called for Krizak's immediate removal from command. Others, mainly younger members, expressed curiosity about this new approach. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal as the immediate threat of invasion faded. The public had been told a simplified version of events, that contact had been made with an alien civilization, and diplomatic relations were being established. Few knew how close they had come to extinction. In the Arizona facility, Zarks worked daily with Alan, Sam, and Dr. Martinez to build a framework for human-Dominion cooperation. It would be a long process filled with setbacks and misunderstandings, but they had made the crucial first step. "Do you think they'll really change?" Alan asked Zarks one evening as they watched the sunset, a natural phenomenon that still fascinated the alien. "Change is never easy," Zarks replied. "The Dominion has followed one path for thousands of years, but your message showed us another possibility. Sometimes that is all it takes, one new idea at the right moment." Sam smiled. "All because we said hello in the right way." "Your greeting contained the concept of meeting as equals," Zarks explained. "That single idea was powerful enough to make me question everything I had been taught. Now it has reached the highest levels of the Dominion. Earth was no longer the next target. Instead, it had become the catalyst for a transformation that would eventually reshape a galaxy-spanning empire. The species that had evolved as conquerors began the long process of learning how to be neighbors instead. And it all started with one message that made them rethink everything.